There's something profoundly peaceful about waking up to the sound of birds instead of honking horns. That was exactly why I left the city behind and bought a small ranch just outside a suburban area dotted with cookie-cutter homes and HOA lawn signs. I'd worked hard for years, scrounged every penny, saved, and took the leap. My ranch wasn't massive. Just 5 acres of open land, a modest house, and a solid front gate that separated me from the rest of the world. It was mine, and more importantly, it was quiet. Mornings were sacred out here. I'd sip coffee on the porch while morning fog rolled in slowly over the grass fields. No loud neighbors, no bustling traffic, just the occasional hum of a tractor or the chirp of crickets, still hanging on to the night. I finally had the privacy I always dreamed of. That gate at the front of my property, it wasn't just a gate. It was a boundary between freedom and everything I left behind. Or at least it was supposed to be. There was one detail I didn't think much about when I first bought the place. An old dirt road, barely used, ran from my front gate through my property and connected to the back end of an HOA neighborhood nearby. My property deed clearly showed the road fell under my ownership. It wasn't a public easement, but for some reason, that little strip of gravel would become the center of a storm I never expected. At the time, though, it just seemed like a historic trail nobody used anymore. I had no idea it would soon become a shortcut for someone who had no business being on my land. Not just once, but again and again and again. At first, it was just a small thing. A silver SUV kicking up dust down the old dirt road by my ranch gate. Harmless, I thought. Maybe someone was lost or cutting through to save a few minutes. I didn't think much of it until it became a pattern. Same SUV, same time every morning. Same speed, fast enough to startle my horses. I waited by the front fence one morning, sipping my coffee just to see. Sure enough, silver SUV, right on cue. The driver didn't even slow down, just barreled past my private road, signed like it was decoration. That's when I saw her. Sunglasses, hair in a tight bun. On the phone, didn't even glance my way. She drove like she owned the place. Later that day, I asked a neighbor if they recognized the car. "Oh, that's Karen," they said, rolling their eyes. She's on the HOA board. She thinks she runs this neighborhood. Apparently, Karen had been living over in the HOA community that bordered the backside of my property. She discovered that the old gravel road leading past my ranch connected her street to the main highway, a shortcut that saved her maybe 6 minutes. So naturally, in her world, that meant she had a right to drive through it, gate or not. The next time she passed through, I waved her down politely. I smiled, told her the road was on private land, and respectfully asked her not to use it again. She barely glanced at me before saying, "Well, if you did want people using the road, you shouldn't have bought a property with a road running through it." And just like that, tires crunching gravel, she was gone. I stood there blinking, part confused, part stunned. Who talks like that? I assumed it was a misunderstanding, that she just needed some time to cool off and think it through. But the next morning, the SUV returned. This time, she honked twice while passing. Not a friendly wave, more like a mocking horn. A childish gesture from someone who clearly didn't respect boundaries. That was the moment everything changed. The peaceful life I'd built was now being trespassed, repeatedly, by a woman who saw private land as a shortcut and courtesy as optional. Karen wasn't just passing through anymore. She was making a statement. And I knew right then this wasn't going to end with a polite conversation. At first, he tried to keep things civil. He double-checked the property surveys, confirmed with the county that the road was, in fact, fully part of his private land. No easement, no exceptions. Just a driveway he happened to share airspace with unintentionally, with an entitled neighbor who refused to hear the word no. So, he did what any reasonable person would do. He shut the gate, not with a lock, not even a chain. Just closed it. A polite, visual reminder that the road wasn't hers to use. But Karen, she took that as a personal challenge. The next morning, bang, loud enough to startle the cattle. The gate was wide open. Not because of the wind, but because she had forced it open. Tire marks in the gravel made it pretty obvious that she hadn't even slowed down. She pushed right through it, like she was busting out a fast food drive-thru, not trespassing on private land. The rancher stood at the end of the driveway, staring at the damage. The gate wasn't destroyed, but it leaned now. One hinge bent, the latch busted. Nothing he couldn't fix, but that wasn't the point. It was the first real violation. Not a law just yet, but of respect, neighborliness, and shared human decency. He raised the issue again with her, carefully choosing his words. No shouting, no threats. And this time, she didn't even look up from her phone. "I talked to a friend on city council," she said, smirking. "Technically, this is still old access for utility. You can't just fence people out." Except that was a complete lie. He tried filing a formal complaint with the HOA. But since his land wasn't part of the association, they technically had no authority. Yet somehow, she had all the confidence in the world to come through his land daily, like she was royalty on a country road tour. Then the letters started showing up in his mailbox. Handwritten notes, HOA letterhead, passive-aggressive complaints about the unsightly nature of his fencing. Maybe if your gate didn't look so aggressive, people wouldn't be afraid to drive through. Yep, she wasn't even denying it anymore. She was justifying it. At this point, he realized she wasn't going to stop. Not on her own, not with reason, not with letters. Karen didn't see private property. She saw a shortcut, and she was going to take it until someone made her pay attention. He didn't shout. He didn't retaliate. And most impressively, he didn't get even, he got smart. By now, it was beyond clear to him. Karen had no intention of respecting boundaries unless she was made to face them. So, instead of another complaint, he went into planning mode. Quiet, calculated, and 100% legal. If she was going to treat his property like her racetrack, then maybe it was time for her actions to leave a paper trail. One that couldn't just be dismissed with a phone call to her friends on the city council. First, he got signs, big, bold, and unmistakable. Private property, no trespassing. No through way. Not an easement. He didn't just put up one. He put up 5, placed them strategically so she could not see them. He even made sure they were reflective, so she couldn't claim it had been dark or dusty. No excuses. Next, he installed motion-activated trail cameras, farm-grade weather-resistant, with night vision and timestamps. They silently watched the gate, the road, and the area near the mailbox. Nothing covert or sneaky, just standard ranch security. That happened to point directly at the problem. He didn't tell anyone. Not the HOA. Not Karen. He just went on with life like nothing had changed. Until 4 days later, she came through again. SUV, blasting music. Right through the clearly marked signs. Didn't stop. Didn't hesitate. Even flicked a gum wrapper out the window. All captured in crystal clear footage. License plate, speed, the whole 9 yards. And he was just getting started. The next week, she came through again. This time, ironically wearing an HOA t-shirt while pushing the gate open with her bumper. Except now, the gate had been reinforced. He had gently modified it, not to harm, but to withstand pressure. She didn't break it. She just bounced off it and had to stop, get out of her car, and open it herself. So much for royalty. That night, he downloaded the footage, organized the timestamps, and dropped it all in a neat little email envelope. One went to the HOA president, one went to local law enforcement, and one, just for fun, went to her, with a polite subject line that read, "A friendly reminder regarding private property use, smiling face with smiling eyes." The trap had been set, and Karen had walked right into it. Karen didn't even realize she'd been caught. Not at first. She continued driving to the ranch like nothing happened, as if the bold and no trespassing signs were invisible and the gate was just a loose suggestion. Like always, she was on the phone. Like always, she pretended not to see the cameras staring right at her. But now, he had everything on video. The SUV, the plate, her face, her ignoring the signs, clear footage of her flicking trash out of the car window. 2 dates, 2 violations, both on record. The best part? The new gate didn't need to hold her back physically. It just had to make her notice and force her to interact with it, because that's what changed everything. The moment she got out of the car and touched the gate with her hands, it turned from bending the rules to full-on trespassing. The cameras caught it all, with timestamps, and time wasn't on her side. By the time she made it home, the email was already in her inbox. No threats, just an attached video, professionally trimmed with a polite message. For your awareness, let me know if you have any questions. Smiling face with smiling eyes. That same day, he got a reply from the HOA president. Short but telling, "Thanks for providing this. We'll take immediate action." Then, a call from local law enforcement. Nothing dramatic, just fact-checking the footage, confirming the signage, asking if he wanted to press charges. He didn't want to escalate, not unless he had to. But Karen didn't know that, because 2 mornings later, the SUV stopped at the front of the gate. For the first time ever, she rolled down her window, stared at the camera, and then turned around. No horn, no honk, just silence. The road stayed quiet that day, and the next, and the one after that. The message had been delivered, without a single raised voice, door knock, or confrontation. Just signs, silence, and a strategically placed trail cam. For the first time since the whole mess started, he didn't have to do anything. The footage, the emails, the signs, it all spoke for itself now. Karen, who once acted like she owned the road, was suddenly very quiet. No more horn honks. No more SUV barreling down the path, like it was her personal driveway. Whatever bravado she built up vanished in one silent, awkward stare at the camera. Then, the real consequences began to roll in. First came the visit from a local code enforcement officer. Friendly guy, not dramatic, just doing his job. He took photos of the damage to the gate, made a note of the signs, and asked a couple of questions. "This a regular thing?" he asked. The rancher just chuckled and showed him the video clips. No drama, no anger, just facts. Then came the notice. Karen received 2 formal citations, one for trespassing and the other for disturbing private property. Nothing major, but enough to cost her a few $100s and require a court appearance. The rancher didn't ask for it, but when you document everything the right way, the law tends to show up on time. The real damage, though, wasn't legal. It was personal. Word started spreading around the HOA. A few neighbors saw the footage too, and when the HOA board reviewed it in a closed meeting, Karen wasn't just embarrassed, she was angrily defensive, which of course only made things worse. A vote was taken, privately, quietly, and before long, Karen was removed from her elected role on the HOA board. No parade, no fight, just one fewer rule-obsessed person in charge of landscaping violations. Meanwhile, the ranch stayed calm, quiet, and respected. A few weeks later, he noticed something strange. The SUV didn't come through at all anymore, not even once. In fact, one day, a for sale sign popped up in Karen's front yard. And just like that, the consequences had handled themselves. No shouting, no courtrooms, just boundaries that finally stayed closed. The ranch was finally quiet again. No tire tracks on the gravel road. No surprise honking in the middle of breakfast. Just peace. Wide, open, honest peace. The kind you can feel in your chest when you walk outside and hear nothing but wind and birds. No one drove through the gate. Not a single soul. A few of his nearby ranch neighbors even dropped by just say, "We saw the videos. She really did that." He'd just smile and say, "Not anymore." The best part? He didn't have to fight, scream, or stoop to her level. He just let the facts do the talking. Let her actions write her own ending. All he did was stand firm, stay respectful, and follow the rules she chose to ignore. Then came the twist. A few months later, he ran into a friendly couple at the post office. They just moved into the neighborhood and were new owners of a house over in the HOA community. You can guess which one. When he told them where he lived, the woman laughed and said, "Oh, that's the place Karen said had the gate drama. She told us all about it." He smiled, and then she added, she sold the house fast and moved into a condo across town. First floor, no view, definitely no yard. That was the full circle moment, because some people never change. But life has a way of reminding them they're not above the rules they ignore.